Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm just getting everything set up, so hold on one second. Okay, so I am going to be sharing my screen, and we're going to talk through the PowerPoint that was sent out yesterday, talk a little bit about what the political campaign looks like and kind of where we are in the semester. And then I'll open it up for questions after that. But if you do have a question and you want to ask, now is the time to do that. You can just post it in the chat, or you just raise your hand, or say it out loud. Totally fine. But I will also post this to the class later on today, so everybody will be able to see it and kind of get information or whatever. So any questions before I get started? Any pre-questions that we need to address? Okay, perfect. So the first thing I want to say is we are almost done with this semester, even though it feels like we're kind of in the middle because of the midterm, and we're at the very beginning of March. The reality is you are in your last group for the rest of the semester. And so you stay with this group that you're in right now until May. And the 4 projects that you have to do that are left are with that group. So hopefully you're in a group that is, kind of working together, and even though schedules might, make things difficult, hopefully you're with people that are communicating and that you're able to come up with solutions and work on projects as a team. Now, as I have said from the very beginning of the semester, how you feel about your group is also going to, play out to how you feel about the class and how you feel about the work that you're doing. So if you're struggling with your group, it can get very frustrating. I was talking to people during the Meet the Band and the virtual vacations, and some people were really struggling to get group members to participate, and they didn't really know how to juggle the lack of participation. And my example is always the same, of talking about, if you worked at Starbucks and you showed up for your shift at 8 o'clock in the morning and 2 people were missing. If you were the 3 other people that were there, and 2 of the 5 are not there, you still have to figure out how to get that morning shift to work and do the things that you need to take the orders and replenish the stock and deliver the coffee and the goods that people are buying, take the money, etc. And that still has to be done. Now, does that mean it's going to be a good work day if you're having to do more work because other people are missing? No. But it doesn't mean that you just throw your hands up in the air and say, okay, well, I'm not going to do it either, because you need that paycheck, or you're, wanting to be ethical and moral in your job, or whatever the case may be. And so some group members are totally gelling and everything's going really good. I only have not heard from one group, and that's only because they struggled to find someone who met the media day requirements of that. I think it's 25 to 45 age group. They had picked Arnold Schwarzenegger, and his age is 73. That also happened to another group. They had picked someone who was older, and they had to find someone that was more in the age requirements. And so that's the major thing that's happening right now. But the great thing about this week's assignment is it's just putting a PowerPoint together as a team. And the PowerPoint you can find in the message that I sent to your group. It should be in your inbox. Or you can go to the week number 10 update, and that is this link right here. It says see requirements here. If you click on it, This is what the media group put together, and they were meeting long before you guys knew who your groups were. They were trying to create what would be the guidelines for your first assignment. So they serve as kind of like the media team that follows the president, like the press corps, and they kind of set up the press conference of telling us who your candidate is and the debate questions that you guys will, pick a position on abortion or free college or whether people should wear masks or not. They'll come up with those questions for the great debate. And then the next is the vote for us, which is where you're really trying to do a persuasive campaign to tell us why we should vote for your candidate. This first one is media day, and that's simply just informing us who your person is. So, kind of showing us a photo of them. I hope that you'll have fun with it. The media group was really cool to say, you could put a meme in there, a hashtag, a slogan. Um, and it kind of makes it like a campaign. And so you as a group can just come up with the idea of what you want to create as your theme. Some people go really funny with it. The interesting thing is, long before Donald Trump was president, some of my groups ran Trump as a candidate when he was the Apprentice star. And they would do funny, like they had one group member actually dress up as Donald Trump and get a fake wig and interviewed and did things on video, acting like they were Donald Trump. So it was really interesting to see how they had exaggerated the Donald Trump character, and then seeing Donald Trump actually become president. They were doing that long before. So you may even pick someone who actually may emerge as a candidate. People have picked Kanye West before. There's all kinds of different, Lady Gaga. Someone even ran Forrest Gump before, because they could do someone who was a character. They didn't have to pick a real person. So there's all kinds of different ways that you could have fun with your candidate. But you might struggle if you don't have a lot of information about them. So, for example, let's say that you picked Kanye West or Lady Gaga, and it asks, one of the questions in here is the requirements being the age. Okay, well, yes, those two people fit into that requirement of age. But then when it gets down to what are their accomplishments, or who is that candidate, or what issues do they support, you might struggle with, oh my goodness, well, what does Kanye support, or what does Lady Gaga support? And you'd need to find out what are some statements that those people have made publicly. So we know that Lady Gaga supported LGBT equality. We know that she has stuck up for freedom of speech. She's done things that have been supportive of military. So, the reality for Lady Gaga is that she's going to be more of a progressive, even liberal leaning candidate. And so it would be odd if you ran her as a Republican, because her public stances and things that she said out in the public actually wouldn't be something that you could quote if you were starting to talk about her as a candidate. So, what you want to be doing now, once your group has figured out who you're running, is just trying to figure out who this person is, how do we want to introduce them to the audience. And the media group has created a really clear slideshow showing you exactly what you need to do. Kind of, this is the framework of what your presentation should look like. And so you need an image that you all agree on, that you like, that you want to put forth as that candidate's image. It's got to be clean and professional and, set up well. Has to be 15 slides. And all of those requirements are in this document that I emailed out to your group, and that is in this week's update. Now, for this week, that is the only thing you have to focus on with your group. I'm going to focus on your midterm grades, and I'm finishing up your grades for your Meet the Band and the virtual vacation speeches. Those grades will be in by the end of the week. And then next week, we'll have a lecture PowerPoint that'll go out. You'll have submitted your PowerPoint by that point. And then you're going to get updates on the great debate. And so the great debate will be where you're going to submit answers to the questions that the media group gives your group. So, for example, let's say that I was running Lady Gaga and as a group with my group, and the question was, does your candidate believe that people should get the COVID-19 vaccine? And are they in favor of wearing masks in public currently, no matter what? And so if my candidate's Lady Gaga, I know that she has already talked about the fact that people need to be wearing a mask and abiding by the guidelines or whatever. I know that she challenged Trump as a president. So I know that whatever his stances were about, COVID-19 or whatever, she's going to be the opposite of that. And so as a group, we're going to figure out who's going to answer that question the best. What is our answer as a group? And then we're going to post our answer to that question. And there will be multiple questions that the media group will post. And they'll tell us how many we have to answer. They'll tell us how long our answer has to be. And so as a group, all we're going to have to do is get together and say, okay, who's going to answer which question? How long or what is our stance on that question? And we might want to look at what the answers are before we post them, make sure we all agree, or we might trust our group members just to do the task and answer them and post them as quickly as possible. And then that assignment is done. The next assignment, which is Vote for Us, is not until after spring break. So that's not something that you need to be worried about right now. It's not something that you need to stress on, but that's the only live presentation that you'll have in the class. So on that presentation day, your group will actually, as a group, make a presentation about why your candidate's the best and why we need to be voting for your candidate. There will be some rules about how long it needs to be, how long each member needs to speak, what you need to include in that presentation. But it's kind of like the famous speech critique that you did with Obama and Arnold Schwarzenegger, where they were, promoting a candidate and saying, this is why this person's the best. That's essentially what you guys would be doing as a group, is why should we vote for Lady Gaga or whoever your candidate is? And so the media group might tell you that you've got to show your hashtag again, or say your slogan somewhere in your presentation. Those might be things that they're going to require for your group. And you'll just have to make sure that your group meets the time limits, make sure you hit the needed requirements that are included in the presentation. And obviously you want to do the best job, because at the end, as a group, we will all be voting on each of these presentations. And so whoever wins at the end gets a special prize that I'm not going to announce right now, but you are competing over the course of the semester. And then the last assignment, which is the real deal, is not due until the week before finals. And it's a fun little activity that you'll do as a group, not a live presentation. And it'll just be submitted online, and I'll tell you about it as we get closer. But those are the only three, well, the one that's due this week would make it 4, media day. Those are the only 4 requirements for this group. So I hope that you are working with your group and you're working to try to figure out how to make it fun and interesting. If I were in these groups, I would be trying to figure out where is our best time and date each week. And so that way we knew every single week we're going to have a check-in during this time, during this day. Kind of like this class, we know that on Tuesdays, our class is at 9:10 if we're having a meetup. And so we don't have to worry about whether or not we don't know what time it is. We agree on whatever time works for, the group. So that's what I would suggest if I was in the group. I would have a text or a messaging slate, so I know that we can all message each other, fairly quickly. And then I would also make sure that we're also using some face-to-face communication, just to make sure we're hitting all the things that we need to do. Now, we do have, I think it's 1 or 2 more famous speech critiques, but that's easy. You've done those before. The hardest part is going to be just completing this group project, and this is a group class. And that's going to be just making sure that you're working with your group. And if someone's not participating, making sure that you're journaling and keeping up with that stuff, because you will have your final journal that'll be done at the end of the semester that's due for this group project. So how is it when you're working with your group? How are you coming up with decisions and making decisions? Who's seeming like the leader of the group? Do you have any conflict that's happening? How do you resolve the conflict? all of that stuff will be good things that you could add into your journal at the end of the semester. And that'll be an easy thing if you're keeping up with it. You could just turn in whatever you've been creating as the semester goes on. Okay, I'm going to stop there and I'm going to see if anyone has any questions about the PowerPoint or any of that stuff. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is I am going to show you, hold on one second. I'm going to show you, let's see. A sample of a media day PowerPoint. Let's see. I'm going to try to, hold on one second. I want to make sure that I have one that is going to be a good example. No questions anybody wants to ask while we're working? Or while I'm working on this? Fall 2020. Okay, here is a good one. Oh man. So for some reason, it's not letting me open that one. Hold on one second. So if I go here, okay, here's an example that I'll show you. So if you look at this example, let's see. It says, I have some questions for after the lecture. Okay, perfect. Hold on one second. Just stay on and then we'll go over that then. Okay, so this is an example, what I'm about to put up, of what a group did in the spring of 2020. Can everybody see this? Let me see.
Yeah.
Can everybody see that PowerPoint? Somebody tell me yes or no.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I need some, okay, perfect, thank you, I see that thumbs up. Okay, so this would be an example of one that a candidate did in the spring of 2020, before Biden even ran for president. This group ran Biden as a candidate. And so they met the requirements of a campaign logo. They talked about their slogan. They gave his history. They gave more of his history. Now, what I will say is part of the critique about their PowerPoint, and this came from me and the media group, it was lots of text. It was not eye-catching. It felt like just, you know, they had copied and pasted it, even misspelled words that were on there. So this one did not get an A as a group. It did meet, you know, the requirements of length and stuff like that, but it was not as professional as it should have been as a submission. But, so for example, you can tell here, yes, they were able to put his goals down, but you can't read them because they're mixed into the logo that they also put on there. So you just want to think about, is it visually appealing? Can you see, the content really easily? Does it, capture our attention, stuff like that? They even did a fun little TikTok. Let me see if I can get it to play so you can see an example of what that was. Let's see. Oops. Let's see. So it wasn't, the best TikTok I've ever seen, but it was creative and interesting. And it could have been even better, and it would have captured the audience's attention even more. But the fact that they included one got them extra points in the voting, because the TikTok submission was an added bonus. It wasn't something that was required, kind of like the meme is for this presentation that you guys are doing. So the bottom line is, it's up to your group to come up with whatever you're going to submit by Sunday night at midnight. You submit it here. I'll show you the example of where you submit it. You submit it under the discussions tab. If you go here and discussions, it's going to be in this area right up here where you submitted like the Meet the Band presentation and the virtual vacation. The media day submissions is going to be up there starting today. So obviously I don't expect you to put them up today, but you definitely want to make sure that you're working with your group to get it submitted by Sunday night. Okay, so I am going to stop there, and I'm going to stop